This is the home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Kojo Manu. Our headlines this hour: an economy on its knees. Minority demands government pulls the brake on the $1 billion loan agreement meant to salvage the ailing economy.
The IMF engagement commences. Government has just brought two agreements for a syndicated loan of $1 billion, $250 million and $750 million.
On the Joy News tracker, Railway Development Authority unable to tell when exactly the much-touted modernized and functioning rail system will be seen in Ghana. Also, as the strike by pre-tertiary labor unions continues to bite hard, JHS pupils vowed to blame government if they fail their BCE.
17 October, we go to write our BEC, and all of us feel there's no one to blame than the president, because he's the one who's taking care of the headquarters.
And later in this package, inmates, a security guard and several attackers killed in Nigeria prison break. More than 400 inmates are missing from the Abuja jail. Hello again, thanks for choosing us. Now it's day 3 of the teacher union strike, and pupils are already feeling the impact, the negative impact of this action. Some JHS students who are expected to write the BCE are anxious. The children say if the strike continues and they fail the exams, they will blame the government. Jojo Kobna was at the Ayalolo cluster of schools in Accra and filed this report.
This is the Ayalolo cluster of schools in Accra. Children in these schools are from
Konkoma, Abubrushi, Konkoma, Jamestown, Konkoma, Adobrushi.
The parents brought them to school hoping they will learn something and become prominent in future. Unfortunately, there are no lessons today. Their teachers are on strike. There are 8 schools here with over 1,000 students. With no supervision from teachers, the pupils are enjoying extended playtime. They are sweating it out in the sun. Others are climbing trees. Some of the children decided to stay at home, but others came to school hoping their teachers would come to the classroom and surprise them. Their teachers are agitating for a 20% cost of living allowance because of high inflation, high cost of fuel already being felt. The third-year junior high school pupils are worried about the examinations in October, so they need quality coaching from their teachers. Ibrahim Mohammed
went to strike. It has affected a lot. The reason why I said that is because we are the this year BC right, so that we can learn small from them. It will affect us. Secondly, we are not even plenty over. Some haven't come, so I think if the teachers can at least come. The Excellency Nana Danko Akufado, we the students will beg you a lot. What we are begging on you, pay them so that they will come and teach us, because we are struggling a lot.
It is obvious that these
AJ.
So what have you learned today?
That's all. Just playing around and go home. We won't do anything. Even yesterday when we were here, 2 teachers came, 3, and they taught us only RME, and they left. We didn't do anything again. By today, there's no one. They are all nothing. Even our Form 3s are writing their mock, and because of that, they can't write it. They are all playing around. Some even have gone home.
Mohammed is pleading with the president to listen to their teachers.
Our teachers say we are the next generation of them. So if all the teachers are going on strike and we are here doing nothing, and maybe on the 17th of October, we go to write our BEC, and all of us feel there's no one to blame than the president, because he's the one who is taking care of the teachers and other school supplies.
Lower classes, the head teachers are in school to ensure order. To pass time, a teacher in Accra Presby School engages the children to sing. Will the anchor hold in this period of their lives when teachers have abandoned classes? The students say the teacher strike is a great source of worry to them, but they're also concerned about the poor infrastructure of their schools. These schools are a death trap. The foundations of 3 of the schools are exposed and hanging. The pillars could break any time, and this is a disaster in waiting. The roofs have holes in them.
Even our class, when it's raining, we have to move to one place. Even where the teachers have been sitting, it's no good. All the roofing sheets. When it's raining, we can't sit in the classroom. And even the veranda, can't sit here.
2 projects started by the NDC government have stalled for many years, leaving the children in Ayalolo to study in terrible environment. The children are in school, but it is evident that they are not enjoying quality education. If the teacher strike continues for a longer period, these children, who are already disadvantaged, will suffer needlessly. Jojo Kobna, Joy News.
And just so you know, that school you saw there is right here in Accra, urban Accra. Away from education, the minority in Parliament is vowing to resist government's attempt to Parliament approve a $1 billion syndicated loan currently before the House. Government is seeking $750 million from the Afrexim Bank and $250 million from a syndication of banks to finance the 2022 budget. Speaking exclusively to John News in Parliament, member of the Finance Committee, John Jinapo, said if the loan is approved, government will pay up to $50 million as insurance alone, and on also the $250 million deal and similar amounts on the $750 million loan deal.
You would recall that we are currently going through an IMF program, despite insistence from government that we're not going for an IMF program. They've just announced that we are going for an IMF program because we have challenges with balance of support. The economy is on life support. The economy is facing serious challenges. And so even before the IMF engagement commences, government has just brought 2 agreements for a syndicated loan of $1 billion, $250 million and $750 million. And when you look at the terms of the loan, it's mind-boggling. It's most unfortunate. Firstly, we would have thought that Parliament would have been briefed on the state of the economy. We would have thought that through the IMF engagement, we'll get to know the true state of the economy before we even begin to talk about borrowing. Because this same reckless borrowing and expenditure that has brought us to this quagmire. When you look at the facility, firstly, it's omnibus. All they say is that it's for budgetary support. You don't know exactly what the amount is going to do. But when you even look at the details, some of the facility, especially the 250, we're going to pay almost $50 million as insurance, and then pay about a 1.75 as arrangement or agency fee. It just doesn't make sense. Why would you be paying such a whopping amount on such a figure? What is so special about it that you pay all this amount? Ghana is a sovereign state. And as a sovereign nation, one would have thought that we won't be paying all this amount. We are also surrendering some of our assets, including our rights. We are making a lot of waivers. The British High Commission, the Ghana High Commission in Britain, is being asked to waive even our rights in terms of immunity. This is most unfortunate. And worst of all, President Akufo-Addo and Mr. Kinoforeta wants to borrow this money, spend it today, but the repayment would be when they have left office. Already we've done that with the IMF facility. In 2025, Ghana would have to look for extra 11 billion cedis or more in terms of repayment of loans. So when you add this, obviously in 2025, this economy is going to crash.
John Jinapor also says the minority will do everything within its power to ensure that the House does not approve the deal. He's calling on his colleagues on the majority side to join them to kick against it.
I think that both majority and minority side should do the needful and ask the minister to withdraw this request. Let's go through all the processes, look at the true state of the economy, why we are in this mess, what we ought to be borrowing, and exactly where we are applying those funds. Given the current circumstance and given what they've given us, it's so opaque, it's not transparent, it doesn't stand the test of time. And I hope that MPs from both sides would put the nation first for the first time and do the needful by rejecting this request.
Finally, I just actually checked the other paper. It says the provision of the paper tomorrow says they move with this nation tomorrow. And I wanted to know if the finance committee had met on it or whether they were expecting to meet on it this evening, take a decision, and then take a decision in the House tomorrow and approving it tomorrow. It seems like this is quite rushed.
Once again, they are trying to rush this. You would recall that e-levy, we cautioned them, they did not listen. Vehicle levies, we cautioned them, they did not listen. A lot of taxes and programs or policies that government has brought here that we've cautioned them, which they bulldoze their way through, they've always hit a wall. Why would you even want to table this before the House when we haven't even sat as a committee? We haven't even looked at it. The committee hasn't even sat to listen to the Minister of Finance, and yet you've tabled it for tomorrow. Why the rush? Why wouldn't this government listen once and for all? Why wouldn't this government put the nation first once and for all? And like President Mahama said, why won't you take your time? Why are you rushing? This deal is inimical. It is not good. It is not proper. It's not fit for purpose. And we must insist that it is withdrawn and the right thing done before we even think of considering it.
Let's do some more analysis on this. Dr. Patrick Isumin is an economist at the University of Ghana Business School, and he joins us via Zoom. Doc, I'm grateful for your time here on Joy News Prime. The minority have a point, don't they, when they say the debt stock is ballooning. We are doing about 7 to 8% when you look at the ratio, and that we need a check on it. But government also argues that these facilities are crucial to get out of the woods. What are your thoughts on this development?
Good evening and good evening to viewers. So I think, first of all, we cannot say government activities should stop until we finish the discussion with the IMF. So let's get out of the way. The country still has to run. Government has commitment that it still has to follow. When you read, the documentation I've seen, it says that the loans are for capital and growth-related expenditures.
Yes.
I'm sure maybe the parliamentarians would have seen a little bit more detail about what this means. So, ordinarily, when we are doing those kind of expenditures, those are the ones that help boost our growth going forward. However, I think if you look at the circumstances that we find ourselves in, you expect that our risk premium for taking such loans will be very high because we've lost access to the main international capital markets, and it appears that this will be a private arrangement to have brought a few organizations, institutions together to help us with these funds. So in that sense, if the cost is likely to be exorbitant, and when it comes to that, we have to really worry about the interest cost and interest payment, because currently we spend too much of our revenue servicing our loans. So I think from that point of view, you understand why the minority is strongly objecting against it.
But also the argument by government that we actually need these monies. Government, Kojo Manu, the information minister on the probe with my colleague Emma Papao, did say that they are looking to raise about $3 billion. They are hoping to get some $2 million from the IMF deal, but also hoping that this initial $1 billion that they are getting parliamentary approval for will help to deal with some of the issues to support the budget. And that essentially will bring some stability as far as our reserves, for instance, is concerned. Given that, and if what John Jinapo said is anything to go by, that will start the payment from 2025, is that not a good financial decision to make?
Well, I think, having a longer term to pay the loan is a good thing, but you always have to balance that against exactly what the interest and other costs are. From our side, I'm not sure that those specific details have been made available. So at this point, if it is something that relates to the country defaulting, and that if these are funds that if you don't get, we are going to default, then you understand how we want to avoid that at all costs. Therefore, we will go ahead and make this loan. But if it is capital expenditures or growth-related expenditures, and these are things that we can postpone for a little bit, then we have to really consider that and then make sure that we don't take on any additional loans so quickly at a time where we are so vulnerable, because this around this time is among the most costly period for us to borrow. So even though, because we look desperate, at the moment, the economy is not in such a good place, and we are not getting access to the areas that we typically get loans. So in that sense, when we go out there borrowing, it's really going to be very expensive. And then we need to balance that particular risk, because our interest payments are way too high. So on that score, regardless of how sound the argument from the government side will be, I will expect that we will proceed cautiously and make sure that we get probably better terms. Now, once the IMF is coming on board, we expect that our international, even though the program is not starting now, and we are not going to receive funds anytime soon, but the moment it's announced that Ghana is going to IMF program, we expect that the market sentiment against the Ghanaian cedi might change a little bit. So that should give us some room to hold on.
Very well. We'll leave it here. Thank you very much. That's Dr. Patrick Isumin. He's an economist at the University of Ghana Business School. And that's it for the Joy News Tracker. Let's cross over to Nigeria now. More than 400 prisoners are missing following a raid on a prison in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. 4 inmates and a security guard, as well as several attackers, were killed after prison was targeted on Tuesday night, according to officials. Islamic militants have said they carried out the attack, and dozens of jihadists are thought to be on the run. More than 5,000 inmates have escaped during prison breaks in Nigeria since 2020. Let's get some more on this latest incident. We're speaking to a journalist with Channels TV, our partners in Nigeria, Kayla Megwat. Kayla, thank you very much for joining us. Now, is it clear what necessitated this particular attack?
Good evening, Ghana. Not quite sure what necessitated the attack. What we do know is that this is a type of attack by ISWAP, and of course we've seen ISWAP take responsibility for this particular attack. They're calling it it's a style that they use called the demolishing the wall technique, or something that has been used in other jailbreaks for ISWAP members around the world. The figures are 19 people injured. Of the 19, 16 were inmates and 3 were members of the NSCDC. The number of people who have died, according to the Chief Superintendent of Corrections at the Nigerian Correctional Service, 5 people dead, he says. 5 people dead. His name is Mr. Umar Abubakar. 5 people dead. Of those 5 people, 3 were inmates and 2 were personnel of the NSCDC. Okay. The figures, the facility in itself, like we've been saying, is a medium security custodial center.
Right.
And was housing 994 inmates. 443 were recaptured, and 551 are currently in custody. So the total number of inmates who actually escaped at the time was 879. the escape. Of course, like I said, 443 have been recaptured and 551 are still in custody. So still quite a number of people out there. What we do know is that the Minister of Defense has said every single Boko Haram member in the Kuje facility has escaped. That is where we are on that. Not one of them has been recaptured. They are still out there, all 64 of them, yes.
And Kayla, we understand there's a general state of insecurity following this incident. Many are worried because these prisoners were jailed jihadists and members of the Boko Haram, like you say. So how are people reacting to this, especially in Abuja, which is the capital?
That is a very important question. You know, the Kuje Correctional Center is in the nation's capital, the seat of power. It is 2 hours away from the city center, but still in the nation's capital. And it's a very big cause of worry. 300 people invaded this center and were able to rescue their Boko Haram contemporaries under the watchful eyes of, this is supposed to be the most secure city in Nigeria. So yes, a lot of people are very scared. I spoke to a few people who live in Kuje who say they want to leave. You know, they figured, you know, why would we still be living here? You know, and apart from that, we're seeing response from even government officials who are expressing shock. The president himself, President Muhammadu Buhari, went to the correctional center and he was in shock when he got there. He said, how did this happen? I want to take his words. How can terrorists organize, have weapons, attack a security installation, and get away with it? Those were the words of Mr. President. He says he wants a full report on what's going on and an investigation is going on. But the update that we have today from the Senate president who went to the correctional center today, stunning to hear him say that he didn't find one CCTV camera. Not one CCTV camera in this particular place. In fact, his words were, I am very disappointed that there are no CCTV cameras at this particular correctional facility. And he's asking the Controller General of Prisons to ensure that the request, so they're going to start the request for CCTV cameras in all maximum and minimum custodial centers be included in the 2023 budget. So it's, you know, it's something I would have never thought. I'm sure if you were thinking of a prison in Ghana, you wouldn't think that there's no CCTV camera.
Absolutely not. And that is quite shocking as you report. And in previous incidents, we saw others recaptured. As you're reporting right now, about 443 people have been recaptured. From the shock of the president by way of the loose security, so to speak, at the prisons, and what the defense minister said, what plan really has been rolled out that you'll say would give confidence that some more people, especially the Boko Haram convicts, will be recaptured?
That is a very worrying situation for everyone here. There are several questions. Are there going to be people fired? Who's going to be held responsible for this? Are the Boko Haram escaped Boko Haram terrorists still in Abuja? Are they in the city center? Are they roving around? Are they trying to move into neighboring countries like Ghana? What is happening? What's the story? You know, what can get back the confidence of Nigerians who live in the nation's capital about security? We haven't gotten those answers yet. So sadly, this situation has thrown up more questions than answers. But as we saw things unfolding and we got more information as they unfolded, maybe in the next few days, we'll be able to get more certain statements from the government. All we're hearing right now is an inquiry is going in. We have to investigate this. I want a full report. We've been hearing a lot of people say it's more than statements this time. You can't just put out a statement. You can't just come and say it's outrage. We have to see action. And I think that's what a lot of Nigerians are hoping for.
Well, let's see how this pans out. Kayla, I'm grateful that you could join us. Kayla is with Channels TV in Nigeria, our partners. Let's stay in Nigeria and speak to a security analyst, Uzoma Kingsley. He is MD Africa for Modern Security Consulting Group. Uzoma, I'm grateful that you could join us. The phenomenon of jailbreakers becoming synonymous with Nigeria. What is your reading into this latest attack? Well, you'd have to unmute, Uzoma, so we can hear you. Well, if you're unmuted, just tell us about what you're learning about this latest attack I mean, this is not the first time we're seeing a jailbreak. It's happened, and about 5,000 people have broken jail since 2020. What is your reading as a security analyst into this particular one happening in Abuja, right in the heart of the capital?
Good evening. Okay, thanks for having me. It's quite unfortunate that this happened in the capital of the nation, Abuja. And we saw the feedback from the president, the heads of the correctional services, and others. It shows a failure of intelligence and to a high degree of governance, especially in the criminal justice system. Okay, because in the last 2 years, we've had approximately about over half a dozen of attempted or jailbreak from Imo to Ondo, Kogi, and what have you. And so we begin to ask questions. How come? Because the indices are there that government need to take appropriate measures to make sure that these centers, these critical infrastructures are well secured. Okay, so it's one thing for you to get intelligence, is also another for you to know how to utilize them. Okay, so you might ask yourself the question, the location of this correctional service in Abuja, the Kuje Area Council, the neighborhood you have is a very bushy area, not to call it forest. Okay, so adequate measures are not even in place. The host communities, who are those living there, how do you assess people? And gathering intelligence on the part of the security agencies is not what you do on siren vehicles. That's the mistake they've been making over time, because the average Nigerians out there can identify who a security agent is. We now know them as people who move about mostly with politicians, mostly with sirens, and you see them with clean vehicles, so you know when they are coming. Okay.
And I mean, it goes without saying when you say intelligence has been low, because as we're learning tonight, the president was shocked to find out that there were no CCTV cameras at such an important facility. But what does this mean finally, Uzoma, for terrorism within the sub-region, seeing that there are a series of events, a series of attacks, especially on jails where you have Boko Haram elements locked up?
Okay, may I remind you that over time, especially with the last attack that happened to the victims of the train victims that are still in captive, part of their demand is for the government to release their men who are in custody at the correctional service. That has been going over time in the last couple of months, and these guys have also been carrying surveillance. You see them, maybe their men using riding on Okada and things, people within that community, and the headers. Okay, so they supply and seem to have more information than that. It's one thing for you to have a CCTV, is also another for it to be functional. Okay, so for government or the Senate president to make references or being shocked that there are no CCTV in these facilities, only touchlights or bring to limelight the fact that no audit is usually carried on these facilities from time to time. And there are distinctions between a maximum prison and a minimum prison, okay? So the level of the perimeter fencing is also cause for questions, among other issues.
Thank you very much. That's a security analyst in Nigeria, Kingsley Uzoma, joining us on the jailbreak in the capital, Abuja. You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Kojo. Still to come, members of the Swami Magazine chapter of the Ashanti Youth Association have served notice. They will not accept any further delay in the development of the Swami Magazine Industrial Enclave. Hello again, thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. Now, even as government struggles with an agitated Labour Front. Members of the Swami Magazine chapter of the Youth in Ashanti or Ashanti Youth Association have served notice they will not accept any further delay in the development of the Swami Magazine industrial enclave due to any possible cut in government expenditure. Though negotiations have just started with the International Monetary Fund, there are fears of possible cuts in government expenditure as part of conditionalities. But traders at the Swami Magazine want the government to complete stalled road projects in the enclave and other promises made to the region in 2016. The news conference is the third in a series of conferences held by youth groups in the Ashanti region on the lack of development there. And now Jima visited the enclave and now reports.
Some roads in the Ashanti region have seen improvements and asphalt overlays since the NPP assumed power in 2016. But many others remain in poor conditions, while work on others has stalled. An example is the bumpy Swami Magazine Afranchu Road, which has developed potholes.
This section of the road hadn't developed potholes. You have graded it for 3 months and have since abandoned it.
The once asphalted road was graded to pave way for an asphalt overlay, but work has grounded to a halt. The delay has caused persistent dust pollution affecting traders here. Joyce Kofo, a spare parts dealer, is forced to hide her products due to extent of pollution.
They no longer water the road. We come to work and cover the wares on display. How do we get customers to purchase them? Some are very expensive, but the dust have made them unattractive.
Mama Korea, a popular spare parts dealer, has assigned employees to water the road regularly to lessen the impact of the dust.
My staff water the road at least 3 times a day so we can display the wares. But within an hour, it gets dusty again.
One of the promises made to the people here is yet to materialize. Successive governments have paid lip service to the development of the Swami Magazine enclave. Despite the country's current economic difficulties, members of the Swami Magazine chapter are demanding a fulfillment of promises made to the traders and indigents here. Sporting red armbands and displaying the Asanteman flag, the group laid bare their demands. Mr. Afre speaks for them.
Magazine here, right, is a major commercial source. We get a lot of money from magazine. Almost about 40% of the youth are employed at magazine.
The stronghold of the ruling NPP stands threatened as pressure groups whose members claim to be staunch NPP supporters display their loss of confidence in the government. For Joy News, Nana Yaujima, Kumasi.
To other stories now, and members of the Coalition for Lawyer Justice Richard Badumbi has called on the Inspector General of Police to work in tandem with the requisite state institutions to strengthen their collective efforts to ensure that persons who gruesomely murdered the 42-year-old lawyer are brought to justice. Lawyer Badumbi was killed on the Banda Inkwanta Yoyuri Highway in the Savannah region on his way to the Upper West region. Speaking after a demonstration through San Principal Street in the Jarapa municipality, a leading member of the coalition, Ebenezer Ayama, made an emotional plea for justice. John News' Upper West regional correspondent, Rafiq Salam, reports.
At the forecourt of the Juba Municipal Assembly and on the streets, tears and anger reigns, a reflection of the incidents that have shocked the very core of the people in the municipality and the entire region.
Some of these killers were not remote from us at all. Notable among them are a mobile vendor who was shot dead in cold blood at Chobariri, a suburb of Jarapa, while he was returning home from hard work. As if that was not enough, Mr. Stephen Mane, a retired teacher, who is also a native of Jirapa municipality, was also killed in similar manner. In all these, we are yet to see justice for them.
Lawyer Richard Badombi was gruesomely murdered by unknown assailants on May 28, 2022, between Bandam Kontra and Yoyuri in the Savannah region. Members of the Coalition for Justice for Lawyer Richard Badombi converged at the seat of power in the municipality to demonstrate over the brutal killing of a man described as Colossus.
He was actually a true man. He wanted justice to always prevail. He never wanted to deviate from the truth.
There was war, anger, and visceral disgust directed at institutions and people that they expect to unravel the mystery surrounding the death of Lawyer Richard Badombi and bring the perpetrators to justice.
They should leave no stone unturned as far as the murder of this our brother is concerned. And we don't want any son of Jirapa, any daughter of Jirapa to be murdered in this gruesome manner.
First had the procession through some principal streets in the township before presenting a petition to the Jirapa Municipal Chief Executive. Ayema Ebenezer is a leading member of the Coalition for Justice for Lawyer Richard Badombi.
We call on you, the IGP, to work in tandem with the requisite state institutions as you strengthen your collective efforts to ensure that the perpetrators of this dastardly act are brought to face the full rigors of the laws of Ghana.
The coalition gave a 2-week ultimatum to the police administration to bring them up to speed on the process of their investigations, failure which they will continue to demonstrate.
While not intending to mark the investigation, we are giving an ultimatum of 14 days within which the police administration must furnish us with some answers. At the minimum, update us about the status of the investigation, if any.
Jirapa Municipal Chief Executive Lawyer Nicolas Soiri thanked the coalition for demonstrating peacefully and urged them to exercise restraint in their pursuit for justice.
It is equally said that justice hurried is justice buried. I'll urge all of you to remain calm as the security agencies are working tirelessly to unravel the matter.
Reporting for the news, Rafik Salam, Jirapa.